Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of June 1st, 2014. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here, and happy June to everybody out there. In the middle of the week, we are going to have Venus speaking kindly with Neptune. Now, Venus recently moved into the sign of Taurus, effectively coming home, able to bring forward her best qualities. And so overall, a lot of us out there are more interested than ever in considering all things related to the five senses. And really, this is about acknowledging what's awesome about being a human being, about the human experience, the earthly experience. You know, I look at this and I think about how, and really I think one of the Taurian energy that's being sort of emphasized for us all right now has to do with this idea. There's this equation that sort of goes out there, has been for so long, that says that we are spiritual beings having an earthly experience. And I see that as an equation, actually, because some people, I think, take that to mean that spirit is everything that matters, is the only thing that matters. I wouldn't say that. I would say that rather, we are incarnated for a reason. We're having earthly experiences for a reason. And ultimately, those reasons are based in spirit. I'm very much of that belief. But there are a lot of advantages, a lot of amazing things about being incarnated. And I think Venus and Taurus is amplifying that right now, or amplifying the awareness of that. You add to this the element of Neptune there, really bringing this dreamy quality in. And a lot of us are going to be motivated and looking into what it is that we can do, how it is that we can move ourselves towards appreciating the earthly experience more. That's what I think this conversation is going to be all about. This is a really good vibration for musicians and artists in general. Anybody who does something where they feel that they're plugging into source, tapping into some universal energy and sharing that with the world. This is a great time to plug in. And so if you are an artist, or you consider yourself an artist or creative type, this should be an energy that you certainly want to utilize. You add to this, what we also have happening is the sun speaking in harmony with Uranus. And so this to me suggests brilliant ideas, great brainstorms. When I put these two elements together, the fact that both of these are taking place in the middle of the week, not spread out too far apart, it suggests to me that it really is the best ideas that are going to come out of nowhere. I remember many, many years ago watching an interview with Lady Gaga. Okay, I'm just going to put it out there. And she was saying in this interview that when God calls, pick up the phone. So she understands her work as an artist as somebody who's sort of plugged in and sort of channeling an energy, which is what that whole interview was about that I watched. And that's why I was so interested in it, because I love hearing people talk about their spiritual understanding, their spiritual experiences. And so she said this, and I thought to myself as I looked at the sky, I was reminded of that, because this is sort of getting that proverbial call, especially if you're an artist or you're anybody who sort of is looking for a new idea, thinking outside the box, thinking of how you could go down a different, more inspired, more rewarding path, and really trying to tap into or be open to ideas other than the ones that you are used to thinking, and having the faith to believe that you could actually do something with these ideas, and you certainly can. So utilize these energies together. There's an element with all of this. There's an element of belief, of faith, of luck, of surprises, pleasant surprises that effectively show you where it is that you can gain even more freedom, even more inspiration, even more aliveness, if you will. There's an element here of just being alive on a level of mind and feeling your creativity flow. All of that is indicated very strongly right now. So tap into this energy. It's there for all of us. And this is one example of how astrology can always be used to our advantage, always, by learning to put ourselves into harmony with everyone and everything. We really help to propel our own lives forward, and really the collective as well, towards greater love and greater wisdom, which is what I say is ultimately what I believe is the purpose of our incarnation. Now, on June the 7th, we are going to have Mercury officially going retrograde. And the date you really want to watch, yes, is the 7th. That's the date of the retrograde. But Mercury will return to this exact spot on the 17th of July. So you do want to watch what issues are coming up for you, what is being raised for you, because it really is the days around Mercury changing motion that is considered stationary. Astrologers call stationary. And it's when a planet is standing still in the sky. It's considered stationary. And so there's this moment just before a planet changes direction that he essentially seems to be standing still. That's stationary. And when Mercury is going stationary retrograde or stationary direct, these are really some very potent days to watch. And so Mercury will be stationary retrograde on the 7th and will be stationary direct at the very beginning of July, and will return to the exact position that he will be in on the 7th on the 17th of July. And so it really is whatever issues come up, whatever consideration, whatever seems like, oh, wow, I have to go over and do that again. Whatever it is that's coming up for you, whatever ideas, whatever things you think you want to do before you thought you didn't want to, now you think you do. Really, it is going to be the 17th of July that really brings the message home, or helps to hit everything to its final conclusion, if you will. And so, of course, trust your life, trust the process, trust the considerations that are coming up for you, but understand that full clarity will set in for you just a little bit further down the road, and really for all of us as well. So I'm very excited, just on a personal note, to announce that Jupiter Specials should be up right around the time of the start of the week. And I'm just so grateful to you guys, because it really was your encouragement, you reminding me. Actually, I've been getting messages now for a couple of months saying, are you going to produce Jupiter Specials? And that really inspired me to create a separate set of Jupiter Specials rather than incorporating them into a monthly horoscope as I did last year. And I'm just so grateful for your trust, for you reaching out, and I so enjoy your interactions and your messages. Thank you so much for that. I know that sometimes in the messages you ask astrology questions. I love that. I'm creating special series videos, continue to work on that throughout the year. When you are interested in more personal stuff related directly to your chart, I'm truly grateful for that as well. You may want to have a look at personalized horoscopes that I offer. The link should be somewhere on the screen right now. However, I want to say that ultimately, I do believe that I just believe in being part of an energy that is positive and good in the world. And I'm so grateful that in some way you see these videos as some part of that for you. And that really is everything to me. So thank you so much. So right about now, I'm going to jump into the signs. And if you would like to jump ahead to your sign, you can click on the timestamp in the YouTube description to do just that. So how all this stuff, all this planetary motion that I spoke of speaks to you in your sign is coming up right now. Hello, fabulous Aries. Well, Venus is moving through a part of the sky for you that has to do with finances and financial reward, financial progress, abundance. And you add to this the fact that Venus is a planet that is traditionally thought to be a planet of blessings. And I look at how you've got this really interesting conversation taking place with, at the same time, the Sun and Uranus moving through your sign, the Sun moving through the sign for you that has to do with receiving messages, communications. Now, where Neptune is in the sky for you right now and over the course of this decade and into the next, it really has to do with karma. It has to do basically with what you've already sown. It's the goodwill you've already put into place. It has to do with other people working on your behalf, or if you want to think of it as angels or whatever, others working on your behalf to help move your spiritual path along and to help bring blessings into your life as well, and to help allow closures where they need to be had. So I look at this conversation taking place. I consider the fact that we're just coming off of a new moon that took place last week. And I got to say, you put this together, and I think that there's likely to be some very good financial news that finds you, likely to find you through some sort of a message or very unexpected conversation, unexpected email to reach you, that really will have you thinking very fast, thinking about what you need to say, thinking about what kind of impression you want to make. But don't think about it too much. This is about trusting the instinct and going with the flow and believing that good things can happen for you, because this very much is a vibration of you getting the money you need just when you need it, and just being so surprised that the universe really does have a more prosperous plan in store for you. Hello, fabulous Taurus. This week, you've got Venus moving through your sign, speaking in harmony with Neptune, to me, this is of prime importance. I look at this and I think, first of all, Venus entering your sign is the best of you really coming home. It is really you being not only in your element, but feeling like you are being aligned with something that resonates as what ultimately you're here to learn, ultimately what you're here to do. And so you've already got that connection going. You add to this the element of Neptune, and this suggests to me that faith can pay off big time. Faith, yes, and a little bit of work, a little bit of receiving the information and then backing it up with just a little bit of action, which ultimately is what this type of conversation that astrologers call a sextile is about. Trusting that, running with that, ultimately will lead you to some really lovely blessings, and the kind of which, and I do think that there are some Taurians out there who are going to feel that they've been blessed by a miracle or just short of a miracle. And so things really can have a very wonderful turnaround in matters that matter to you most. And I do think also, given the position of these planets, the chance that a friend plays a role in this is also very highly indicated as well. Hello, fabulous Gemini. The sun moving through your sign will be speaking in harmony with Uranus. And I look at this vibration as probably the most important move to be happening for you, other than Mercury retrograde, of course, which happens later on in the week, towards the end of the week. However, I look at this conversation taking place and it suggests to me that you are really being put in this great position to get really clear on what it is that you want, what it is that really matters to you. And it really is going to come about as a result of interaction with friends, interactions with other people. Now, as I said, you are going to have Mercury beginning a retrograde phase. So when Mercury does this, it really is so important for you more than other signs, because it represents a time when you are really getting clear on a level of identity as to what really matters to you and what it is that you need to reflect on, what you need to go over, revise, re-edit, all the re's. We're all doing that in our own way, but for you, it hits a little bit more personally because Mercury is your ruling planet. And so I would really encourage you to watch what's taking place towards the end of the week, because that's going to give you some strong indications as to the themes that are going to come up for you a little bit further down the road. And I actually have spoken about this in the monthly horoscope, so you might want to have a look at those as well. But this particular vibration of the sun moving through your sign and speaking with Uranus does suggest that your mind is bright. You're able to see things very clearly. You're able to see what it is that you actually need to do. You see who it is that you actually need to connect with to improve your circumstances, to move towards a life that's more rewarding and more free as well. A life that feels lighter and a life that feels more like you can be the best of you. Hello, fabulous Cancer. This week, we have Mercury standing still in your sign. So Mercury really just entered your sign, and just very quickly, like 3 days into your sign, or what astrologers call 3 degrees into your sign, we have Mercury now standing still and will begin to go backwards just for a few days before he enters the sign of Gemini, or re-enters the sign of Gemini next week. And so when I look at this taking place, it does suggest to me that it's almost as if you are ready to go forward with some plan, some agreement, some clarity, which ultimately really is what Mercury represents, among other things. Mercury does represent the plans you make. And it's almost as if what I'm seeing happen for you is like you're ready to go forward, but then all of a sudden, either the energy changes or the circumstances change, and you realize, wait a minute, this plan needs refinement. There are things that you hadn't really looked at. There are things you hadn't really considered. I also do think that there's an element here, and I'll be really honest with you, when I look at the fact that Mercury's going to be doing this dance in and out of your sign and will return to your sign in the middle of July. But when I look at the fact that this dance is taking place, it does suggest to me that there may need to be a little bit of reconfiguring who it is ultimately that is a part of this plan going forward. And so it's great. You've got people on board and it looks like you've got that clarity, but all of a sudden you're going to realize, like, wait a minute, maybe we need to define the roles more, or maybe actually what I need is a different set of skills that are not going to be met necessarily within just these people that I'm thinking are going to be part of this project or part of this endeavor going forward. And so however that is that fits into your life, just understand that there's an element here of you wanting to go forward, but then feeling like there are things that you hadn't especially thought about, or maybe people that you thought were part of this, but maybe are not meant to be. And all of that is going to become clear in the weeks ahead. But for now, just be patient with yourself and understand that this is part of the process towards moving your life towards those plans and realizing those goals, realizing those dreams as well. The clarity is going to come, but first it's almost as if on some levels of energy, on some levels of the past, on some levels of understanding, that clarity needs to happen for you, and also on just levels of faith as well, of knowing that your life is moving forward, even if it feels a little bit like, whoa, I didn't know I had to go back and go over this again, go over this clarity again. I want to push forward, but it feels like I can't. Even if it's feeling like that, don't worry about that. Just trust the process, because really you're being asked to gain some clarity and some insights, which will end up paying off big time a little bit further down the road. Hello, fabulous Leo. Well, your ruling planet, the sun, actually a luminary, but your representative in the sky is going to be speaking with Uranus this week. And to me, this suggests that it is you that's going to start feeling lighter, that's going to start feeling lit, that's going to start feeling, and what I mean by that is, I mean bright, I mean awake, I mean alert on a level of mind. I mean that a part of you is going to feel like you're finally thinking clearly in ways that maybe just on a level of energy, on a level of you allowing that clarity to come, might have felt a little bit like it wasn't so clear or wasn't so happening in the last few days. And particularly when I consider how this particular energy and what's been taking place in the sky with the recent new moon that was happening, which does necessarily involve the sun. I do think that there's an element here. You're actually entering the week with a really positive burst of energy, given that the sun and Mars have been speaking, and now you are going to have the sun and Uranus speaking. It suggests to me that the energy, the drive, the motivation, the determination that has set in as you start this week really is going to lead you to take some action in favor of that. You're already taking action, but it's almost as if this is like quick understanding, quick rewards, really lovely surprises that lead you to understand where you can be more effective, where you can do more work to make even greater gains. And so I see all of that happening for you, but I do think because it's the sun, it really is going to affect you much more personally, affect you much more deeply, where you come to understand that actually, you know what, you can move towards a more positive future, you can move towards a more inspired future, and you can move towards a future that feels like you're able to just express yourself and be yourself in a way that feels much more true to who you are today. Hello, fabulous Virgo. Well, your ruling planet is Mercury, and so you and Gemini share this ruling planet, but of course, you have different experiences of, different understandings of sort of the spectrum and the ways in which, the shades in which this planet expresses itself. And so whatever is happening with your ruling planet speaks to you because he is also your representative in the sky. When I look at the fact that Mercury is going to be standing still in the sky in the later part of this week, so begin slowing down in the week and standing still, it does suggest to me an element of you and looking at the position of Gemini, given that this position of Mercury is going to be first in the sign of Cancer before moving into the sign of Gemini. I really do think that I look at this, in all honesty, it looks almost as if a friend or information that comes from a friend or an issue surrounding a friend reaches a standstill position. So maybe there was a hope or an element of you wanting to push forward and move forward with a career matter in particular, hoping somebody might help you with a career matter in particular. And now it might feel a little bit like, okay, you've got to stop, you've got to relax, or you've got to get clear on just what it is that you want, where it comes to your career. What are you going to aim for next? What is it that you actually want to do next? What ultimately are you reaching for, depending on where you are in your life? And so for some of you, depending on your phase of life, this is going to be a really important time of really getting clear on the goals that you have, the career goals you have, who you need to be a part of this, what higher ups you need to be a part of this, what friends you need to have on board, but really thinking about how you're going to go about climbing the ladder. And an opportunity to actually do that may come up in the weeks ahead. But again, because this is Mercury going retrograde, and I spoke about this in the monthly horoscopes as well, because ultimately Mercury is going backwards, if any opportunities do come up, which is a possibility now and in the weeks ahead, just know that the fullness of the responsibility will become more clear as we move forward in the weeks ahead. However, those of you who might be at a different phase of life, it may not necessarily be about career. It may just be about, I think I've been going for this, but actually I think I'm done with this path. I think I actually want to go down another road now. So whether that's accepting that you're no longer into the career game chase, or whether that just has to do with thinking that you actually want to take a different road, a different path, all those considerations and what that could mean start for you right now. But really right now, it's almost as if conversation with a friend sort of triggers this, and then it starts to move towards an understanding of how connections with friends and communications with friends ultimately are part of what's taking place in the development of your career in the weeks ahead as well. Hello, fabulous Libra. Your ruling planet, Venus, is in a particularly strong position in the sky, being in co-ruling sign, Taurus, right now. And you add to this the fact that you've got Neptune speaking in harmony with your ruling planet. And this, to me, does suggest that there's likely to be some news around work that could suggest that greater prosperity is going to come through for you. I definitely think that that's a possibility this week, but here's the thing, it really is going to depend on how you navigate and how you present a certain vision. So it's very connected to where you see yourself going, the future you see yourself creating. And, I have to say, I look at this happening, and it's happening right after a new moon, and the chance that there's some sort of, it's almost as if a new project might come to you and you've got to ask yourself, is this worth the money? And a part of you may be delighted by it, a part of you may be thrilled by it, and yet there is going to be a need for you to ask a few more questions. And it does look like you might get very caught up in the opportunity to actually create greater prosperity for yourself, and especially it looks connected to some sort of, whether it's a signing bonus or some sort of refund or return. However, based on work that you've done, however, there's going to be a need for you to have greater information coming in, to have some key conversations around that, and to get the clarity that you need as well. So be mindful of the sort of the vision, the future, the aim, if you will, right? Making your pitch, if you will. Keep in mind that it is actually something that you want on the one hand, but also that your pitch is honest, that your pitch is authentic, because it does look like there's some of you out there, a small percentage of you out there, that may end up saying what you think is going to help you to secure this thing that you want, help you to secure the prosperity you want. But the actual cost of it might be higher than you are anticipating. Either it's going to involve more time, and the fullness of time you'll see is going to involve more time, or maybe involves tasks that don't particularly suit you, aren't particularly aligned with what it is that you want to do. So ask questions where you can, but be honest with yourself about where it is that you're going. And this does look like, in some way, there's some news that comes through that's financial and might excite you at first, but it's going to be up to you to sort of ask key questions to get the clarity as to what exactly is going to be involved in that. Hello, fabulous Scorpio. Well, this week we have a very strongly placed Venus for you where it comes to love. So I do think love is going to be especially highlighted for you. You add to this the communication that Venus is speaking from Neptune, and I just think this suggests your hopes, your desires, your fantasies really reach a high point. It does look like you are feeling very swept away, is the best way that I can put this, and at least smitten at the very least, but certainly swept away as well. And it's likely that given the way that the Sun and Uranus are speaking, it's likely that some of this is going to come by surprise, but it's going to end up feeling really good. Now, ultimately, I do want to say that because this is Venus and Neptune, there's not a lot of, see, here's the thing with Venus and Neptune. It's about the dream. It's about the hope. If we don't have the hope, we never take the chance on love, because love can, as everybody knows, and especially you as a Scorpio know, it's not always the most pleasant of rides. However, having said that, you need to believe in the fantasy. You need to see the absolute best in a person and feel like your dreams and your hopes of being understood very deeply can be achieved. if you are going to even give it a shot, if you're even going to give it a chance. So even if you've been cynical, I don't see that as a very strong possibility, but given that Saturn has been moving through your sign, even if there's been any kind of cynical energy with you, you should notice a respite from that. You should notice a little bit of a break from that. And for just that, you can celebrate this moment and be really happy for it. It does look like a really good time when you are believing that love is possible for you, and it certainly is. Hello, fabulous Sagittarius. This week there is the promise of having a flirtation that goes remarkably well, and having the flirtation sort of come up out of nowhere. I say this because you've got the sun moving through your opposite sign. You've got Uranus continuing to move through the part of the sky that has to do with flirtation. And as I've spoken about many times, what happens in your opposite sign tends to speak with partnership. It speaks to love, because ultimately it is about what is coming back to you based on what you're projecting. And what is taking place in your opposite sign is ultimately about you seeing yourself as reflected in the eyes of another. It acts as a mirror. And because of that, and because love is ultimately one of the greatest mirrors encouraging us to see ourselves more lovingly, I do think that there's an element here of you getting some much needed clarity into just who you are and what it is that you're going for in love. But more than that, I see this as a time when you realize that actually love is meant to be fun. Love is meant to be a joy. And so if you are in an established bond, this should just bring about just some really nice kind of out of the blue, pleasant times, romantic times. If you are not in an established bond, this could be a time when you meet somebody and just feel very inspired by this person. And what I mean by inspired is that your hope is there, that you're feeling like you've met somebody really awesome, and that you're just feeling happy all around. And so enjoy this feeling when it does come along, and it looks like it takes you very much by surprise. And there is an element of absolute joy being presented to you thanks to another person. Hello, fabulous Capricorn. This week we have Venus moving through, or continuing to move through, Taurus, which is fellow earth sign and very harmonious to you. And you add to this harmonious conversation with Neptune that's taking place. And you add the additional element of Mercury standing still in the sky in your opposite sign. And, you know, I look at all this together, and it does suggest that if you are not currently attached, chances are, maybe even if you are, I look at this and the fact that we just had a recent new moon, and this to me suggests some sort of flirtation, likely online, and that maybe you don't know that much about this person. There seems to be a strong element here a fantasy. There seems to be a strong element here also of more information needing to come out, and more information will, but almost like being so attracted by the possibilities and what this person represents, a future that moves closer to some fantasy that you've created for yourself or you hope for, which nothing wrong with that. As I've said many, many times, nothing wrong with that. It's about balance. Ultimately, we need to believe in the dream while having the balance that we can have something that's grounded as well, to keep perspective, because it is ultimately truth that is the most beautiful. So I look at this element taking place, and it suggests to me that really in the intro, I talk about how July 17th is the date that Mercury is going to return to where it is now. That date for you really should be circled really big on the calendar, because it is at that time that I think the fullness of whatever flirtations come up for you right now, or any interactions that come up for you right now, what that ultimately is going to mean for you. For some of you out there, a small percentage, this could manifest in terms of a creative project and what that actually is going to require, and who actually is going to be on board and participating in that. But ultimately, I do see this as very much a journey of heart that's beginning to take place for you now. And understand that it is a process, and it's all for your learning. Cherish the hope that you have, while understanding that it's only through time and communication that you can fully appreciate just where you are and where another person is in terms of their ability to be there with you, whether in love or in business. Hello, fabulous Aquarius. This week we have your ruling planet Uranus communicating with the sun and in harmony. And I look at this and I just think that it's going to be such a lovely week for you where you get perspective on what really matters and what really doesn't. You add to this the element that you have the sun moving through a part of the sky that has to do with joy. It has to do with fun. It has to do with understanding that life can be leisurely, that life can be about trusting your passion, and that can actually pay off for you big time. And it suggests to me, and again, you add the fact that Uranus is in a part in the sky, and I've talked about this in the monthly horoscopes because this is sort of a decade-long trend taking place for you, being in the right place at the right time. And this is one of those moments when you just trusting your joy, trusting your passion, trusting what it is that you want to do, lands you in the right place at the right time, having the right conversation that makes all the difference, that really helps you understand ultimately what really matters on a level of heart and what really matters on a level of your sense of fulfillment in life. Now, add to this also, you know, I like to make you guys aware of this. This is an energy ultimately of creation. This is an energy of fertility as well. And so that is very much in the air for you. And so however it is that you want that to manifest, and however it is you don't want that to manifest, you certainly have a lot of choice in that matter. And also, when I look at this particular conversation, I think it's so important for you right now to connect with siblings, connect with cousins or other people who are considered your peers within the family, also neighbors as well, because I do think one of those people is likely to be one of them that ends up being that right place, right time, right person for you. And so be open to the prospects, have lots of conversations, communicate, and especially utilize social media right about now as well, because I think that is going to be one way also that you bring in a lot of positive energy into your life. And you could very well, it's almost as if without realizing it, it's not a literal lottery ticket that I'm seeing, but it's almost as if you connect with the right person who gives you some information or you have an exchange with that ends up being something that you follow through on that eventually does lead you to greater prosperity. So it's sort of like given the keys to your personal proverbial lottery ticket, which ultimately is you, and you deciding whether or not you're going to utilize them or not. So this isn't a stock tip. Okay, that's not what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is this has to do with believing in yourself, believing in a passion, believing in a prospect, and trusting your instincts that is going to lead you to great reward. Hello, fabulous Pisces. Well, this week, Neptune moving through your sign, speaking in harmony with Venus. I do think this is going to be the dominant energy for you. You add to this the fact that Uranus moving in the sign just after yours and speaking in harmony with the sun does suggest an element here of financial reward that is connected to whether it's effort you've done in the past or home, or people you already have a strong connection with for a really, really long time. People you haven't maybe heard from in a long time are going to show up and be part of you getting greater money or receiving greater prosperity or even getting a job offer in some cases as well. And really, this is about ultimately believing in miracles. And if any sign already has that connection, it's you. And then you add to this the sky. It does suggest to me that you are going to feel like you are in a zone that's very harmonious. You're going to feel like you've entered a zone, if only for a moment. I think for some of you, it might just be like dipping your toes in it. But it is almost like you've entered this sort of magical world where just really wonderful, wonderful things can happen for you. Things can change on a dime. Life can get more prosperous, or life can just get more comforting. Life can get more joyous, more feeling more sweet, feeling more like you've entered into a dream space. And so believe in all that. Ultimately, I do think that this week yours is a sign that's going to find this week to be especially pleasant. And really it starts by you believing that it can be, you having that faith that it can be. And I think just out of the blue, many of you out there are likely to be contacted with very good either financial news or a financial prospect. Now, of course, you want to sit with it, make sure it feels right to you. After all, this conversation between Neptune and Venus might not always make everything very clear. And you add to that, Mercury's going to be standing still in the sky this week. I do think that while there is more information that needs to come out, it should not take away from the absolute happiness that you are likely to feel by receiving some very good news. Well, thank you so much to all signs out there. It'll be a great week. Enjoy. Thank you for watching. It'll be a great month. Be fabulous and enjoy.